Hello and welcome to another Talking To episode. I'm your host Teddy, and today I'm being joined once again by
Hayden.
And today we can talk about the TMNT, the 2012 Season 2, Episode 17, 16? Yeah, the learning mutation of Baxter Stockman. So, what do you think about this episode, briefly?
Well, briefly, this is a very interesting episode, and certainly very different, and certainly one that I wasn't expecting. Especially with Baxter Stockman and him finally turning into a mutant. That was unexpected.
It was a little bit unexpected, but I feel like the title really gave it away. And I think that this episode overall was a pretty great one for what I was trying to do in this episode. And there's a lot of stuff which I did really enjoy about this episode. But I don't know, I think there's a lot of stuff in this one which just like really frustrates me for what they were going for in terms of like the retribution stuff. So yeah. Okay, so with the first scene, we do get see Shredder comes in and he's talking to Baxter Stockman, and Baxter Stockman reveals some new mutants he has planned, and that's when we do get to see a very interesting scene where we do get to see Shredder explodes the mutant bomb on Baxter Stockman's neck. What do you think about that scene? Because it seemed like really dark.
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't expecting it at all. When Shredder came in the room and Baxter Stockman was working away, and of course Shredder being Shredder, he wasn't pleased with Baxter Stockman's progress. I really wasn't expecting him to detonate the bomb on his neck. That was just completely weird and unorthodox, really, because now Baxter Stockman's completely useless to Shredder as a fly. Like, what's he gonna do with that now? But yeah, I thought it was really cold, really dark, and really like terrifying. And even in the slow-mo as well, they even did it in slow-mo just to capture like the pure terror on Stockman's face. That was just like, oh my god, he's finally turning into a mutant, and now we know what it is. It was super weird, super dark, super creepy. I'm like, oh my god, Shredder just straight up like, I don't know, I don't want to say it's an execution, but it was like a proper dark. Like, he was like relieved for a moment, like, oh my gosh, thank god, it was all a fake, it didn't go off, and then boom, slow-mo, breaks on the back of his neck, it's covering his entire body, he's screaming at the top of his lungs, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, wasn't ready for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just with how they presented the scene, it seemed like extremely dark with what they were trying to go for. Just because with the mutation, it really did seem like the blood kind of thing, and just how they presented it was like really dark. And I think my problem with this scene, because like while I do enjoy it for a bit, like taking on a darker like tone for this scene here, I do think that one of my biggest problems about this scene was the fact that with the Shredder stuff, it's like you didn't get to see any of his like failings. It was just that he was there. Somehow he fell, but we don't see it, and then he thinks that it's a failure. And I think that is a little bit annoying, because I do think that there was like some potential there to I think like they could have done like a mutant of the week kind of thing, and basically like show like one like something's like failures and stuff like that, which I think could have been like really interesting. But for some reason we don't get to see that, which I think is a little bit disappointing. But what do you think of Ace Duck?
Oh, the mutant duck, sorry. Yeah, that was a bit weird. Him seen with the mutant duck in that sort of like police officer type outfit was kind of weird. And to be honest, I was like, hold on a minute, where's he getting these photos from?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would have been like a really cool thing to see, have like Ace Duck be one of the like failed mutants. I think that could have been really cool to see. So then going into the next scene, we do get to see Donnie has come up with a way to create retribution. What do you think about that scene?
To be honest, I felt like it took them long enough. It's like, they already made Retro Mutagen like so many episodes ago, but they were so blind to see it. And now that they finally made it, I'm like, I was very like, why? Why did it take them so long? They made it so long ago. I'm like, it was just so annoying. But they made the retromutagen now. It's done. They have a cure. They can make it. They can produce it, and they can finally cure the mutants that were turned, which is pretty cool. But it was so annoying how they've taken this long to actually, do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with this scene here, while I did really enjoy it for what it was, and I think it was like great to see that Donnie finally come up with a cure. There was like a few things in here which are just like, really? Because like one, like he's never used Abel's DNA before, but you would have thought he would have done something like that. And then two, they're going on about how he can't make any more because it takes a lot of mutagen to make it. Even though by the end of the episode they know that Stockman has a big like vat of it, so they can make a lot of retromutagen really fast. And then the next thing with the sprinter thing, why didn't they just drip like they could use like a little drop of it? They don't need to use the full canister. So that annoyed me a lot. Like, what did you think of that? Because I know that, like, after watching this episode, you probably have, like, a few, like, questions like, oh, God, like, why didn't you do this and this and this?
Yes, I do have a lot of questions and answers that need answering. Because it was so... I found this episode to be quite annoying in those areas. They weren't thinking straight. They didn't realise that they have all these resources here to make new batches of mutagen for every citizen in New York, but they didn't use it. And that's just what annoys me. And of course, the whole annoyance around taking up the mutagen as well, that's what really annoyed me the most. It's like, they finally had it, but they're not using their brains.
Yeah. But there was another cool reference where we do get to see Mikey has the voice actor's head on him. What do you think about that scene?
To be honest, that was kind of funny. At first I didn't realise who he was or what who the person was, but then of course I was just thinking to myself, hold on, that must be one of the voice characters' faces. And because I haven't seen, I know this may sound kind of bad, but I haven't actually seen like the actual the voice actors like in person before. I see them on the IBDM pages, but I haven't actually taken the time to go through them all, like to actually look at the pictures of them in real life and their characters. It may sound kind of bad, but but then of course I realised it, and I was like, oh, that's one of the characters, that's one of the people, and I'm kind of glad that they kind of brought it in, but it kind of just like broke the fourth wall in a bit. Do you get what I'm talking about? Yeah,
I don't understand where you're coming from. It's a little bit annoying, but it was still cool nonetheless, I would say. So then we do go into the next scene where we do get to see Stockman fly for the first time, and he fights Raza. So two questions there. What do you think of Stockman Fly's new design? And also, what do you think of that battle?
One, I thought the Dr. Baxter Stockman's new mutant character was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see his like fly transformation, and it was pretty cool. I guess it's sad that I'm not too sure how to describe it really. God, I had it all in my head. Sorry. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that it was like really weird to see him as a fly, because I know he's like tiny, he's futile, but then of course when he turns into a fly, he's become this super strong mutant character that can fight against the turtles and Raza and his goons, and that was just really weird and a bit terrifying. It's like, look, you kind of annoyed Baxter Stockman to the point he's going to take revenge now, and there's nothing you can do about it to stop him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Stockman has a really cool design in this episode, especially with the whole bug thing. And I think that design, which I think they improved upon in like every time they have done this thing in different versions. And I think that he has a pretty cool design, and I think that like there's a lot they could have done with him, especially looking like this and what he is, especially as like a bug and all that. Yeah, I mean, the battle with Stockman versus Raza and all the footbots, I found it to be so great and amazing, especially with them using all the shadows, him just crawling around. It looks so creepy, amazing, and I think that's worked to their advantage. And I thought they did a really great job of like making him actually like an actual threat, which I don't think they really do that too many often. But like, like when they do, they go really hard with it. So when going into the next scene, so when going into the next scene, we do get to see the turtles go out and try and find Kirby, and they do, and then that's when Stockman attacks them for getting the retribution. So what do you think about that scene?
The first time it's happened, I thought, okay, finally, they're gonna go cure Kirby, and they're gonna finally do it. And this is one of the most annoying parts of this episode, when they're trying to cure Kirby, when they're so close, but they don't succeed because of something that gets in the way, like Stinkman comes along, or Raza comes along and tries taking the mutagen. I just found it so annoying. It's like they were so close, and then of course one little thing happened, and they dropped the vial, and they were so clumsy, and then the vial broke, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we finally had the mutagen, the retro mutagen, in our grasp, and now it's gone, it's destroyed, and I just found that so annoying. Like, so many times, it's like they could have done so many things different, like, to try and change it, but they wasn't using their brains, and that's what is annoying. But I thought that was a pretty cool scene in the first place. It's like, oh, okay, Stinkman comes along, and I know he's got like superpowers and all that to hear, but I just trying to figure out how can he just figure out where they are. It's like echolocation, or like, I don't know. Well, like, how does he know?
Yeah, that's something which I had a problem with. I mean, I think that is a pretty cool scene with them actually trying to go out and find Kirby, and I think it like works to their advantage of what they're trying to do in this scene. But I do think it's like one of those annoying scenes which I do think is just like, oh, so close, but at the same time, because you know how long the episode is and where it is, that it's just like, yeah, okay, do expect something like this. But yeah, I did find it weird how Stockman just like could hear the turtles like from far away, and somehow wants to get ready. It feels really weird, but also at the same time, like, at the beginning of this episode, when someone first got mutated, he's like, oh no, I don't want to be mutant anymore, but then he realises, oh yeah, the mutation is actually a really good thing for him, and now he wants to get rid of it. I think that his motivation throughout this episode was like really like all over the place, because like 1 minute he wants to like stay a mutant, and then next minute he wants to be human. I think it's all over the place. And then also with like the actual mutagen itself, like retro mutagen, I don't know why Donnie needed to have all like the whole canister there. I feel like he could have just had like a little bit there, or like no, I'd say like maybe like a little like bottle he could have thrown, not like the whole tube, which again I think was a big mistake. And it's just more of just like, you know, like story type thing. Basically, oh yeah, like, you know, and it's just like one of the things like, and I need to have it in there just so like we can like continue the story to drag it out 20 minutes, which I think is really annoying because I think they could do a lot more, but yeah, they just don't, which. Yep. So then after that, we do get to see Donnie goes home, and then he's talking to Master Splinter about it, and he says that no, he much rather have his humanity. What do you think about that scene?
To be honest, I thought that was a pretty cool scene. Like, Donnie's trying to contemplate whether he should save Kirby or whether he should save his master, his father, Master Splinter, and I thought that was quite nice. Like, Master Splinter had the chance to turn back into a human after all these years of becoming like this mutated rat. And of course, because Master Splinter is so humble and he has retained his humanity throughout the years, he was humble enough and kind enough to to sacrifice himself from not being cured from being mutated. And I thought it was really cool to see his humble and his nobility, his humanity, show. And it's like, look, save April's father. Her father's more important than I am. And I just thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really showed like what kind of like person he really is, and I think that worked really well for his character of what they're trying to go for. And I think it did a really great job of it, and I can't complain about it. But I think again, just like previously, I think like again like what it really said about like stuff at the beginning of this episode. It's just like, why couldn't they do something with Master Splinter and help him? There was like ways they could have done it and still save Kirby. And like even after this episode, they actually never like demutate Master Splinter ever, even though they have the option and ability to actually do it, but yet they don't. And I think that's such a missed opportunity when they have like everything's there to them to do it, but yet they just don't. It is so annoying. But
Really?
yeah, I mean, because after this, there's 2 more times they create the retro mission, and they don't use on Master Splinter whatsoever, even though he's right there in the room when they create it next. And it's just like, why aren't you doing anything about it? It is stupid writing, and I think again, just like so many problems with the show. It's just so annoying. But then going to the next scene where we do get to see the return of Casey and Turfly Tool. What do you think about
that? Well, one, it was nice to see Casey Jones again. He's coming back after his unfortunate incident with getting eaten alive. Didn't think to see him up on his legs again after that incident, but he's back. But yeah, seeing Turtlefly return was pretty funny as well. Like his costume is still there, and he's still doing his little thing, which I find pretty funny. And of course, he got his own little cutscene now, like the old Batman show, where they would cut to Chase to see Batman in the scene. I don't know if you picked up on that, but I found that quite funny and interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely picked up on it, and I found that to be just so amazing. I wish I would bring it back a little bit more. I mean, just Turfly Tool is just a mood, shall we say?
Yes, a mood.
Yeah, I think I can relate to it quite a lot with how annoying I am. So then after that, we do get to see Leo, Donnie, and Casey fight Stockman. What do you think about that scene?
With Casey and Stockman and all of that, that was pretty cool. Pretty cool to see Casey Jones just go to absolute town on Stockman, just like beating him up with the hockey stick, the hockey pucks, just absolutely just beating the living hell out of him. And I found that hilarious because I was like, he's squashing a fly. Like, I just found it funny for some reason. Like, he's just going to town, he's just beating him up with this hockey stick, and I don't know why. I couldn't help myself but laugh at like how funny this is. It's like he's beating Baxter Stockman up, and I don't know. I just found it really funny in my stance, but yeah, I just really found it really funny.
Yeah, I mean, I found a lot of this fight scene to be really like fun and just. I don't know. I mean, I do feel like there's a little bit of disappointment in this fight because I was expecting a little bit more, just like someone to do a lot more, and Casey to do a lot more. I feel like there's a lot they could have done with it, but yet they just don't do too much. And I think it is a little bit disappointing, but you know, I do think like there are elements of this fight scene that are really fun, especially like Casey and what he wants to do. I mean, especially like how like it says like, you know, like Teen doesn't want to hurt him. Then Casey just throws a big canister at him. Like, what? Like, I don't know what to begin with that, but it's just like one of those scenes where you can't really explain, but it's just like, what the hell is going on? But you love it for bits. So then we're going into the next scene, which I think is
definitely.
Yeah, but then going into the next scene, which I think is one which I think you were shocked by, draw to the floor, and going to be a bit speechless by now. April going into the mutation and not getting mutated. What do you think about that scene?
Oh my god, that was probably where I was at the edge of my seat, and I probably just like, you should have seen me. My face was like, oh my gosh, like my jaw was to the floor. I was speechless. I didn't know what to think. I was like, oh my gosh, there goes April O'Neil. She's going to be turned into some hideous mutant, and that's it. That's the end of April. Like, when she dropped into that mutagen and you could slowly see her sinking in, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the end. It's like, this is the end of April O'Neil. She's just been killed off. I'm like, they can't do this to this character. It's like, what's going on here? And then, of course, you can see her flowing in the vat of mutagen, and everyone's in awe. I'm in awe. Like, oh my gosh, she's drowning. No one's jumping in there to get her. And I guess I can understand why, because they don't want to be mutated even more. But like, what would you do in that situation? Like, what would you do? What would you do, Teddy? Like, what would you do in that situation? April O'Neil's just fallen into the vat of mutagen, and you're just sitting there. What do you do?
Well, there's nothing really you can do. I think like the best thing you can do is just like get like a fishing net and just like try to fish her out or something like that. Like
a fishing net.
How else are you gonna get her out then?
Well, good point. I would jump in and do something, but then of course I'd get turned into a mutant myself.
Yeah.
And then that helps no one out then. So I guess a fishing or a really long stick or a metal pole perhaps. Oh, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I found this scene to be. I think like when I first watched this scene, it was definitely one of those scenes where it's just like, oh my god, like what's happening? Oh my god, wow, like I didn't expect that and all that. And I think it works really well. But I think after knowing everything about it, I do think there's also a little bit about it where just like we shouldn't be too surprised because well she is a mutant and all that. So I think there's a little bit of just like. You know, like, come on, guys, you should know better and all that. So I think like, I enjoy it, but I mean, I don't know. I think that because I've seen this episode like quite a few times, it's like one of these ones where it's just like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Can we just move on? But like, I think for like because I mean, I understand like where you're coming from because I know what it's like to see that for the first time. But I think after watching it a few times, it's just like it doesn't have that oh my god factor anymore. But I think it definitely is like one of those scenes. It's just like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But then going into the next scene, we do get to see everyone is fighting, flying footballs, Kirby, Stockman, the Turtles. A really crazy fight. What do you think about that fight scene?
To be honest, after like reeling back from April falling into that vat of acid and coming out clean, and I'm like, hold on a minute, why is she not a mutant? And then of course when you said she is already a mutant herself, and it was all coming back to me, but still it was still quite a shock from that. But yeah, to be honest, I had no idea. Like everything was happening all at once. Raza came in, the Foot came in, Stinkman, the Turtles. I couldn't understand what was going on after I'd watched April fall in to that giant vat of mutagen. It was just so much going on at that time. My brain could not keep up.
I mean, I found the final fight scene to just be really great, just really suspenseful, and really keep me on the edge of my seat, like really want to know what's happening next, especially with the mutagen cancer going everywhere, which I thought was a really interesting like thing, but at the same time, it's sort of like it's like how they did it, where like you expect it to be something like this, which is alright, I guess. I mean, I think like the flying footballs was taking things a bit too far with the football thing, but it's annoying that I don't think I'd ever use the flying footballs again. I'm not too sure about that, but even so, it's a little bit weird just having it in this episode. And then also, with the turf lytle situation, somehow when Mikey and Raph jump off the building to go after Director Mutagen, they jump off and they go down, but yet somehow they go up even higher than the actual building. Like what? I think also let's talk about Donnie's mad like skills with the rope thing. He was like Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty intense scene. Like everyone's trying to go after this one vial of retro mutagen, and it was just madness, like total chaos in New York City. And I do have some questions. It's like one of them is which is like, how did no one see them? Like, how did no random citizen look up to the sky and thinking, oh, there's a giant mutated bat, there's a turtle swinging like Tarzan from roof to roof, and there's giant flying ninjas. No one questions it. No one looks up, and I bet some guy in New York's like, oh yeah, that's just a normal Tuesday night, you know. But yeah, it was just so crazy on what was going on. Like, it was just complete utter chaos. and I liked it. Like the chaos was fun because everyone was just trying to get after this one vial of retro mutagen, and it was just absolute madness. It was so funny. Like this episode was so funny. Just everyone was trying to go after this one thing. It was just so funny.
Yeah. So then going into the final scene, there wasn't really much for the turtle side of things. But we do get to see Kirby's back. What do you think of that?
Yeah, Kirby. Jeez, seeing Kirby back, it was a bit weird. Because for a really long time we haven't actually seen Kirby, and when he turned back, I had to think for a sec. Like I know he's Kirby, but it's not the Kirby that I know. Like I know Kirby to be a giant mutated bat, and now he's back to his old self. It's just like trying to get used to it again. You know, it's like, oh, he's human again. This is what we've been working for, and yeah, it's just the shock of everything happening. Like he's back to normal. What now? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the weirdest part about all of it was the fact that they made him naked, and luckily we didn't get to see anything. But my God, that was a weird thing to put on Nickelodeon at the time. So then going into
it was very weird.
So then going into the next scene, we do get to see Stockman is back in Shredder's building, and Shredder says to him, "Oh yeah, you need to create another mutant." What do you think about that scene?
To be honest, I'm very surprised that Shredder would take Baxter Stockman back after everything that he's done, really, and just the whole crazy thing with Raza and all of that. And I'm really surprised they did take him back. And I was like, why would he take him back after everything that's happened? Like why? But yep, he taken back Stinkman now, which is okay, I guess. But I don't know how much use he's gonna be as a fly. But we'll have to find out and see. But yeah, I was pretty shocked about that, and of course seeing. Oh God, what was I gonna say? Jeez, my mind just went blank. But no, seriously, I was pretty shocked about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just like one of these things for like bringing things back to status quo of like Stockman still working for Shredder. I feel it was like one of those okay scenes. But then with the final scene where we get to see Shredder asked him to make another mutant, we actually never find out what that mutant is. So I find that line to be really stupid now, because I mean, I think there are like other mutants that Shredder's create, but we actually like never find out what specific mutant he wants Shredder to what mutant Stockman wants to make. So I find that to be weird. So yeah, what do you think about this episode overall?
Overall, I thought this was a really good episode. Really cool to see Stinkman now, and the whole thing about Stockman not being Stockman anymore, and Kirby's back, which is good, and the whole thing with April and falling into that vat of mutagen. That was just a real shocker of this episode. That's what had my heart pumping. It's like, oh my gosh, she's just fallen in. It's like suffering from the mighty 300 or something, or something like that. It was just terrifies. It's like, oh my gosh, why? But no, seriously, I thought this was a really good episode.
Yeah, I think that overall this episode is really good and really enjoyable. But I do think that like there's certain elements of this episode that I think like we can both agree that are really annoying with what they could have done for this show, which they don't do, unfortunately. But I think overall this was a pretty decent episode. Not too sure this would be like a top 10 episode, but it was really enjoyable, but annoying for so many other reasons. So yeah, do you want to hear some trivia now?
Let's hear it.
Or in our case, try to hear some trivia. Okay, so for the trivia, we have Stockman held a picture of the Duck, which was Ace Duck, which was a character from the original show. And then the next one is that they eats a chocolate bar that's cool, that chocolate bar resembles the Zagnuts bar, which is a real bar or a real chocolate bar in real life. And also, it's also a little bit of reference to Tim Burton's Beetlejuice movie, where the character uses a Zagnut bar to lure the fly in close so he can eat it.
Really?
Or
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Well, that can be a reference, but I do feel like at the same time it's a little bit just like, people pulling out strings here to be like, oh yes, that's a connection, even though it vaguely is, but not really. It's not much of a connection. It's just about they're very similar.
Yeah.
I think like the point of loose strings here. We've got Turtlefly's transformation. It's an homage to the 1960s Batman show. Sandman plans to fuse April and himself, just like in the Seth Brundler's, just like in the movie The Fly. I haven't seen that movie, but okay. Stockman says that he's planning on making a mutant pig and rhino, and this is a reference to the characters Speed and Rocksteady. You know them from the Mutant Mayhem movie. So yeah. And then the last one is Mikey has a picture of himself as a human, which was Greg Sipes, which was the voice actor, which I think was cool.
Oh, nice.
So then for the cast, it's all characters it's all people which we looked at before. So unfortunately, there's no one to look at this week. But we've got April voiced by Mae Whitman. We've got baxter / Stockman Fly voiced by Phil Lamar. We've got Casey Jones voiced by Josh Peck. Donatello voiced by Rob Paulson. Kirby voiced by Keith Silverstein. Leonardo voiced by Jason Biggs. Michelangelo voiced by Greg Sipes. Raphael voiced by Sean Essenstein. Raza voiced by Clancy Brown. Shredder voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, and Splinter voiced by Hoon Lee. Okay, so for the next week's episode, this is another little spoiler in the title, but I think you're going to like it. The episode is called Neutralized. What do you think is going to happen in that episode?
Oh. Neutralized. I think... this one, I'm not too sure, to be honest. It sounds like someone's going to get taken out. When you say the word neutralized, it sounds like someone's going to get taken out, or maybe potentially cured, potentially. But yeah, neutralized. I'm not too sure whether it's like referring to the Krang or the Oot or something like that. I'm not too sure.
Okay, so you're not thinking of what I'm thinking of then. So this will be a very interesting one for next week's one then, if you don't know what you should be thinking of, so that's going to be interesting.
Okay.
So, yeah, so if you don't want to get onto the podcast, you can leave a comment on YouTube, Reddit, Anchor, if it's a text message or voice message. And, yeah, I've been your host, Teddy.
And I've been Hayden.
And we'll see you soon. Goodbye, yo, bye.
Bye.